Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Anthony Bulla with DRP Solutions. Today, we're here with SKOUT Cybersecurity and protecting your business against cybersecurity threats. What I'd like to do now is introduce the panel that'll be talking today. My name is Anthony Bulla. I'm the Vice President Managed Services here at DRP Solutions. I've been in the office technology industry for the last 29 years, the last 10 in IT solutions. Mike?
Hi, my name is Michael Battaglia. I'm a sales engineer here at DRP Solutions. I've been with the company for about 6 months, but I've been in the IT industry for the last 10 years. I'll kick it over to James.
Thanks a lot, Michael. Good afternoon. Jim Pellegrino, Channel Account Manager here at SKOUT Cybersecurity. It's a pleasure to be on the webinar with everyone today. I've been with SKOUT for about 1.5 years, and my focus at SKOUT is to develop strategic relationships with MSPs like DRP Solutions and provide them with high quality cybersecurity products and solutions so they can in turn deliver the same to their clients. On the call with us is one of our sales engineers, James Mason. James, why don't you take the opportunity to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks, Jim. So thanks very much. It's a pleasure to be on with everyone today, and thanks for taking time. As Jim said, my name's James Mason, and been with SKOUT for a little while now, but prior to SKOUT, I've been working in IT for about 16 years, give or take. I've held a few different roles, pretty much all of them, in fact, which is terrifying, but always had a very strong and passionate focus within cybersecurity. You know, massive evangelist of cybersecurity in general, but obviously, you know, working with SKOUT and what I want to do today is kind of give you a look into some of the attack types that we see within the industry, and we can obviously talk through those. And as well as, you know, showing how SKOUT is able to mitigate these issues from ever happening. And with that, I'll hand you back over to Anthony.
Great, thanks, James. Before we get started, I'd like to just introduce DRP Solutions to you. We're a managed service provider focusing on cutting-edge office technology solutions. We serve companies of all sizes and across industries throughout the greater tri-state area with expertise and care. We pride ourselves on achieving optimal results, plus providing up-to-date IT recommendations, cutting-edge copying and printing, and advanced project work from servers, security, and the ever-changing IT environment. I'd like to pass it over to Jim to give an overview of SKOUT Cybersecurity.
Thanks, Anthony. SKOUT Cybersecurity and our employees have been nationally recognized for the work that we do in delivering cybersecurity solutions. Our goal is clear. We want to make cybersecurity accessible to all at a cost-effective price. And we do this through our product suite that includes network security monitoring, log security monitoring, endpoint protection, email protection, O365 monitoring, which is all backed by our 24/7, 365 Security Operations Center, which is actually located on Long Island. Through our tools, we provide round-the-clock eyes on your network, providing one dashboard, one number, one turnkey partner. What does that mean? Rather than building a cybersecurity stack with multiple vendors that can become cumbersome, DRP and SKOUT offer a full breadth of products to prevent, detect, and respond to threats. So rather than having to include multiple support companies, SKOUT, along with DRP, can act as your single destination 911 call. So through a multi-level view into your network, threats are more transparent to us, which in turn will allow us to respond even that much quicker. As you'll see later in the discussion, saving time will be incredibly valuable in protecting your network, your assets, and your company. And we're proud at SKOUT that we moved up from 198th in 2019 to 61st on the list of the top 250 MSSPs of 2020. And we're hoping to climb even that much higher this year. So I'll send it back over to you, Anthony.
Great, thanks, Jim. We're going to kick off in a second, and I just wanted to just say that at the end of the presentation, we'll do a Q&A. So if you have any questions, please just post them in the chat and we'll get to them. And at the end, we'll also discuss a special offer that we're offering after today for everybody. So to get started with our first question, I'd like to ask Jim about the cyber landscape. Jim, can you tell us a little about what you've seen at SKOUT since you've started?
Sure, Anthony. Over the years in cybersecurity, some things have changed while others have remained the same. So an example of something that hasn't changed is the lack of cyber talent available. So because of this lack of talent, over 375,000 jobs will go unfulfilled this year in the United States alone. An example of something that has changed is the target market that cyber criminals are actually going after. It used to be that they would go for big name, high level companies, but a lot of these larger companies really spent the time and the labor in shoring up their cyber posture. So the criminals' focus has changed. So now the SMB market comprises about 65% of the cyber related crimes. They're easier targets because a good amount of the SMB market just doesn't have the sufficient security measures in place. We're seeing ransomware, we're seeing business email compromise. Ransomware is when a criminal will hold your data for a ransom payment. Business email compromise is when a criminal will infiltrate your network, observe how your data flows, and then they can position themselves to execute a wire fraud or sell your information on the dark web. Later on, James will be able to show us examples of how they can actually move around in your network. But what changes are we anticipating moving forward? So at the same time that we have a shortage of talent, we've actually seen a massive increase in data creation at every company. In fact, in the past 3 years, more data has been created than since the beginning of time. So businesses have much more complexity to deal with when it comes to trying to secure their environments. So regardless of the size of your business, the attack surface has increased on the growth of connected devices. And work from home and really work from anywhere will make this even that much more difficult to protect against. So those are the type of things that we're seeing now and what we're anticipating in the future. Anthony, I'll pass it back over to you.
Right. That makes a lot of sense, Jim. We've certainly seen a lot over the years. What are some of the major attacks you're seeing there now?
Yeah, we've all read about those big companies, that have been attacked, or even that smaller company down the street, local to you. But criminals, they'll consider any and all in the attacks, as previously mentioned. An example of this: bad actors sent malicious emails to a Catholic parish. They impersonated service providers and claimed that they hadn't been paid in months. And the result of that was the parish officials actually transferred $1.7 million to a fraudulent account. So the big thing to keep in mind is they will attack any and all. And the reason is so important, you need to take these proactive measures. It's such an important step in protecting your business. Anthony, back over to you.
Great, thanks, Jim. I'd like to now ask Michael some questions. Michael, what kind of risk are you seeing today?
Yeah, so I've seen lots of cyber attacks on businesses recently, and it's unfortunate when companies don't implement the proper precautions before a security incident. However, they all take it seriously after falling victim to the attack. So that's why we make recommendations to our clients to be proactive when guarding themselves against these type of cyber attacks. Our reps are frequently consulting with our clients, providing them this type of advice. In addition to that, we have weekly tips and tricks videos. We often touch on cybersecurity and discuss the latest tech solutions to mitigate those risks. However, there's no 100% foolproof way to protect your business in this new digital age, as the landscape is ever changing, as Jim mentioned. So no matter who you are, you're vulnerable. However, we know that products like SKOUT help tremendously. I do have a recent incident that I'd like to share that would be helpful in understanding what kind of risks are out there. We have a prospective client that fell victim to a spear phishing attack. And for those who are unfamiliar with the term spear phishing, it's a targeted attack towards a specific individual, organization, or business. Usually the target is a business owner or somebody in upper management. The attack is sent through electronic communication, usually in the form of an email, and their intention is to steal your information. So back to the story, the president of this company was sent a link to a website. This fake website prompted him to enter a username and password, which he did. So now the attacker has those credentials. With this information, that attacker was able to test different vulnerabilities on the network, see what he has access to. The president happened to use the same password for his Citrix login. So now the attacker had gained access to the network. And once in the network, because of the elevated rights of the president's account, he was able to download malicious software on the network and do significant damage. A ton of files were encrypted, and then a ransomware email was sent out to all of management for a payment to decrypt those files. And that's a basic outline of what happened, but kind of taking a step back, there was a few ways we could have prevented something like this from happening if they were a DRP client. We could have used SKOUT's email protection product. That would have been a huge help here. I kind of let SKOUT, both Jim and James, kind of talk a little bit more about that later on in the webinar. But this company could have also used different passwords for all their logins. They could have also implemented a two-factor authentication policy, which would have been a huge help as well. As an IT professional, I definitely find cybersecurity extremely interesting, but I know for a business owner, it can be very stressful. So there's a ton of different types of attacks. We can review those, but I know we got much more to cover here. So thanks, Anthony.
Mike, and I know you worked extremely hard over the past years taking our customers remote. What type of new risk may be associated with that?
Yeah, so the work from home or work from anywhere environment really has been a savior for business to allowing them to operate during these challenging times. But yeah, in the beginning, we were extremely busy transitioning those companies to remote work. There were many different paths you can take to remote work, but really all you need is access to your files and applications. And in today's world, most of those items already exist in the cloud. So this transition is simple. However, some clients who hadn't kept up with technology or didn't follow recommendations were the ones that lagged behind in this huge shift. So I would really be remiss if I didn't mention the security risks with remote work though. And it's something that's been on the IT professionals' minds since the transition to the cloud started years ago. So with the sheer volume and speed of moving everybody to the cloud and granting them access to their on-prem environment, it was tough for us. But we definitely wanted to transition our clients quickly, but we wanted to bear in mind those safety concerns. So it's really a balancing act between protecting the data from outside parties versus the ease of use and accessibility of an organization's data for those employees. So kind of outline that thought process and go over some of those new risks. The first one that comes to mind is that the computers in your office are typically behind a firewall device, which offers an additional layer of protection from outside threats. While working from home or working remote, typically employees are at home behind their home router, which only comes with a basic level of protection. So one of the advanced features on a firewall is that it can do intrusion detection, where it can determine malicious traffic on the network and send an alert to your IT staff, or it's possible that the firewall device itself can stop all communication to that attacked device. Another concern with working from home is that employees are using their personal devices. It's very likely that the antivirus software or endpoint protection installed on those home devices aren't as robust as the software installed on the business machines. And that's if any protection software is on there at all. So there are more technical concerns, but I did want to spend some time to touch on a non-technical risk. And really for remote work, typically it lends itself to more distractions, especially if you're working at home and you have kids running around. For me and my wife, we're not at that point yet, but we do have a cat that just loves to jump on my desk or steal my chair when I get up to use the restroom. So nobody's focused on the computer screen, and that can lead to some inadvertent clicks. You might accidentally click a malicious email link that you didn't mean to while you were distracted. So that could come with some serious consequences. One way to combat this is SKOUT's work from home bundle. Their product would prevent you from ever going to that malicious site. Even if you mistakenly click that link. I'll let James and Jim kind of touch on that more later in the webinar. But thanks, Anthony.
Great, thanks, Mike. Good insight. Now, James, as a technical evangelist working on the front lines of the cybersecurity landscape, I'm sure you've seen a lot of threats. What type of things have you seen recently?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question, Anthony. And it's interesting because a lot of the threats we're seeing at the moment, they're either picking up on things that we've seen in the past. There are actually older threats that are making resurgence right now. It's kind of a way of putting a different hat on the same person and kind of passing them off as a different person. But we're seeing a lot of exploitation of systems. Two of the biggest ones still, though, are, as we've kind of touched on multiple times already, it's business email compromise and ransomware. With business email compromise, it's just becoming increasingly easier to send out emails that look legitimate and have, legitimate feel to them. A lot of people are unfortunately being fooled by things, from a brand impersonation standpoint. We'll kind of show that in a few minutes. The other side, obviously, is the ransomware piece. Ransomware has been around for way too long now. First talked about back in 1989, I believe. The first iteration of ransomware was sent out on floppy disk. It was called the Age Trojan. But nowadays, the technology is so much more advanced that we have, a ransomware kind of program that will encrypt with RSA 4096 encryption. It's going to siphon data off and threaten to sell it on the dark web. The average price of ransom is over $100,000 now. It's what we were seeing last year. I did see someone actually post a question to us about the attack that happened recently on the Colonial pipeline. That was a ransomware attack. They basically went in, they got access to the systems. They haven't actually released how that attack started yet, I don't believe. But they got access, and then they put ransomware onto that, and it's caused a serious issue. And the question was posed at, like, how could SKOUT mitigate that? And I think it really does encompass, all of our solutions put together. We have a really powerful endpoint that would stop ransomware from becoming an issue. We have the network and log monitoring piece that would be able to see attackers snooping around on network, changing things, opening ports on firewalls, anything like that. So there really is a very powerful solution set that we offer that will be able to, really get to grips with visibility into attackers getting access, and then stopping it from ever becoming an issue. So obviously I can't say that without knowing more details. I can't say, yeah, absolutely, we stop every, no worries. But I'm pretty confident with the fact that with our solutions we would have been able to mitigate that issue. But yeah, great question, Anthony, and hopefully my ramblings did answer that well.
Thanks, James. At DRP, we're frequently talking to our clients about getting protected from business email compromise. Could you show us how attackers go about compromising an account and what they may do to get in?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, this is it's from my side, being a massive nerd, this is really fun for me. But yeah, let me share my screen now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share and show an attack happening kind of piece by piece. So what I've got here, this is my attack machine, and it's a machine running a pretty specific variant of Linux that already has a ton of attack tools built in. And these tools range from, what we're looking at here, which is Zphisher, which is created to create phishing emails. But there's loads of other things. There are Wi-Fi tools, there are password tools, that the list goes on and on. It's insane. So on the left-hand page, we have Zphisher. I'll explain what that does in a second. But on the right-hand page, we have the email I've created that I'm going to send out to my victim. And as you can see, it's a pretty plain-looking email, but it has all the right verbiage. It has the right kind of look and feel that someone looks at this and thinks, oh, the Microsoft account team security alert. Okay, and I'll kind of go through that as I send it out. But within Zphisher, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, I want to do the Microsoft attack option, and I want you to create me a link. And what we're doing now is we're actually creating a usable link that's going to create a Microsoft looking page. And we're going to harvest some credentials from my unsuspecting victim. So we'll give this a second. ngrock.io is the option I'm using for creating that link. There we go. ngrock.io, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a pretty prominent website for creating things like this. So if I copy this link, and I'm going to drop this into my email. Here we go. And I'm going to send this off to my victim. I'm going to send this off to Brendan and hope he clicks it. So if I transition now over to my victim machine, there's the email. We can see that's just come in. Again, looks legitimate. It's got the right verbiage. Maybe this is prior to me having my my coffee in the morning. So, I'm still a bit sleepy. I don't really realize what's going on, but I'm going to go ahead and click that link. I'm scared. And this is going to bring us to the very legitimate looking website. And like I said, from here, I'm just going to fill in my details. Anyone who's pretty IT literate, we're going to look at that URL at the top and realize that it's not right. I'll click sign in, and it's just going to spin now. And if I transition back to my attack machine, you can see now that I actually have down here the username and password of the victim. So Brendan's email address and Brendan's password. And you can see in this case, Brendan's got a pretty secure password. It's a really solid tip, and Michael touched on it as well. You want to make sure your passwords are incredibly secure. Don't use words that are easy to guess. Don't use names, dates, pets' names, anything like that. Use strings of text that don't really mean anything. There are password generators built into most browsers now, so you don't even have to come up with something crazy or go to a website to create something crazy. The browser itself will actually give you this and be able to store it for you as well securely. But if I go ahead and copy that and go over to my Microsoft login on my attack machine still, remember, we're still the attacker here, and drop my password in here, drop Brendan's password in. And yeah, I'll stay signed in because I'm going to do some pretty bad stuff here, but now I have access. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to set up, again, this is a pretty prominent business email compromise that we're going to go for here. I'm going to set up a forwarding rule. And this rule is going to be set to forward out emails to myself, specific to, in this case, we're going to use wire transfer. So give me a second. Let me put this information in. And you can see I gave the, where is it? There we go. I gave the rule a pretty, pretty standard name, nothing too inconspicuous there. So yeah, forward, there we go, to me, the attacker. What this is going to do is any time that Brendan gets an email with wire transfer information, it's going to forward that out to me, the attacker. And now, at that point, I'd be able to start stealing money or data or information or whatever I want to put in. I could put anything in that subject line. But for the purposes of demonstration, we're going to go wire transfer. If we transition back, this is Brendan's inbox again. This is the victim. Give another refresh. There we go. As if by magic, there is an email with wire transfer information. So if I go back to my attack machine, and now I'm going to access my attack email address that we just put in. There we go. Brendan's wire transfer email is now in my inbox. I now have the ability to use that wire transfer information, steal money from the customer, do whatever I want with that. The other side of this as well is obviously, I could take that information, go to the customer and say, hey, look how easy it was for me to steal this information from Brendan and his company. We're going to lose faith from our customers, potentially lose business, and potentially lose a lot of brand there. So yeah, it's really, really dangerous attack type. And yeah, hopefully that kind of painted the picture as to how attackers get in. But Anthony, I'll pass it back over to you.
That's pretty cool, James. So to be clear, email compromise is something most people should be highly aware of. Can you show us what malicious email would look like to someone who has SKOUT's email protection?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So hopefully I didn't scare everyone too much with that previous look and feel as to how attackers do what they do. But now what we'll do is if I share my screen out again, and this time we're just going to be looking at the so-called victim. So if I share this out, I've got my machine already spun up here. So nice and quick and simple. I'm just going to go straight in and same process. I've already sent the email to Brendan. And in this case, though, SKOUT email protection has scanned the email, and we've said that this is a dangerous email. It's not coming from who it should come from. This is a brand impersonation. It's asking for sensitive content. You don't want to do anything. Big red banner, draws your eye to it. You don't want to do it. However, again, I haven't had enough coffee today, so I'm going to click the link. But instead of it taking me through to that malicious website this time, it comes through to this page. And this is the SKOUT sandbox. And from within here, we see a ton of information. And this means that we scrubbed all the bad stuff out of that email. And we're doing that at the Microsoft level. We're not asking for the email to come to us for us then to forward it to you. We're doing all of this at the Microsoft level. And we're putting in information around this. We're saying, hey, look, this is a bad email. It's going to take you to a bad website. This is not a Microsoft website. The company policy will not allow you to proceed here. And at the bottom of this, you can see as well, we're actually putting in a screenshot of where that website was going to send you. And again, using our the previous demonstration, we know how legitimate that website looks. And if you see the screenshot at the bottom there, we're seeing 2020 Microsoft terms of use, privacy, and cookies, and all the stuff you would see on the Microsoft website when you go to sign in. So we are going to be fooled by this, unfortunately. So this is really where this protection comes in. We're not just trusting our own eyes and our own instincts, which obviously, sometimes does do the job, but not all the time. We're now trusting a system that scans every single element of that email. All the graphics, all the text, the links, the attachments, absolutely everything to make sure that that email is going to be legitimate, is going to come through to the right place. If not, we brand it as such and we say, hey, nope, this is a bad email. You don't want to go there. You don't want to click that. So yeah, hopefully that kind of paints the picture of, the scary side, the attacker doing what they do, but also the way that we're going to protect your users against that, and how, between DRP and SKOUT, we're going to be able to protect against all of those business email compromise emails. So Anthony, once again, back over to you.
Going back to the example you showed, we noticed the hacker signing into your email account. Is there a way to show where these logs are coming from?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what we can do, I'll bring up my screen once more. Sure, everyone's going to get sick of me sharing my screen out eventually. But if I bring this up, this is actually the SKOUT cybersecurity dashboard. We actually have access to this, ourselves at SKOUT, obviously. DRP have access to this as well. And you can see what we're looking at here is instant geosource. And what this means is we're actually tracking down to a pretty holistic level exactly where these logins are coming from. So we can see if there are logins happening from outside our home country. If we don't have any business outside of the US, then it's going to flag and it's going to click in and say, hey, realize that someone just logged into your account from such and such country. For me, I'm based in Monroe in Connecticut. If I'm to be seen logging in from St. Petersburg in Russia, we know something's gone wrong there. So with that, if I go over to the email protection area, this is going to show us like all of the threat emails coming in. It's going to give us a lot of information as to what's going on. And if I just wanted to see a specific type of email, I can click in. I just want to see the dangerous ones, or I just wanted to see the caution ones, or I want to see the okay ones. It's going to give us a ton of information here with regards to the dangerous emails and what threat types they were. Is it phishing content? Is it brand impersonation? Are they asking for sensitive information? Is it a first-time sender sending us this bad email? What's going on? And then we can go down even further and start looking at these emails and start understanding what's gone on, where did it come from, and to really get very secure. From this view, we actually have the ability to reset the password directly from here. So we're going to minimize the time taken to potentially kick out that threat actor from our inbox and from our mailbox here, and be able to stop them in their tracks before they have the ability to do anything malicious. So there truly is, Anthony, in here, you guys know more than most, so much information that we can gather from that, all the way down to even the longitude and latitude, the ISP, the IP address, and the geolocation of that attacker, to really paint an incredible picture. So hopefully that was what you were looking for there, Anthony.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. So James and Jim, this shows us how easy it is for attackers to cause serious problems for a company. What are some things that everyone can do to protect themselves?
Sure, thanks, Anthony. So we put together a list of recommended cyber hygiene. So number one, you need to focus on the critical data, the information on your network. That's critical to running your business. So what data do you have that if it was stolen or if it became public, would it hurt your brand or the overall viability of your business? How would it hurt your reputation? So you need to identify that. And once you've done that, we recommend building rings of security around that data. So in many instances, it's not enough to focus on just one solution. An example of that is endpoint protection. If a criminal is savvy enough, they can get around one checkpoint, and your key data is still at risk. And hackers can develop ways around that one checkpoint. And that's why monitoring is key. you need to know that you have a problem. So with network monitoring, we can see bad actors navigating around your network and gaining access to multiple corners of your network. Monitoring provides our SOC team the ability to view your network 24/7, 365 to stop any suspicious activity before it becomes a problem for you. If this occurs, we would be able to let DRP know so that we could work together to remediate that situation. And then back to time and reputation. Knowing that you have a problem early on is the difference between something threatening your business or your reputation. So what would the cost of not knowing be? What would the impact of stolen data or the cost of a remediation be? What would be the impact to your business if your clients, your patients, your employees, if they lost confidence in you to keep their private information safe? So these are all facets you need to consider in bolstering your cyber posture. And don't think of it as a technology issue, even if you don't understand the technology. This is really about protecting your business. And lastly, we recommend using a framework like NIST to prevent, detect, and respond to cyber risks. The NIST framework mitigates risk by focusing on people, processes, and technology. So the NIST, it puts all of the elements of cybersecurity into a small to medium-sized business, what they will need, all at a cost-effective price. So if you follow the NIST guidelines, you can be sure that your network and anything you'll need to remain compliant that might be applicable in the industry that you work in, everything's up to date at that point. So those are the recommendations that we make, the products and services that we work with DRP on. We're going to address that for you. So right now I'm going to pass it off to Anthony. He's going to talk about a free offer that he has on behalf of DRP for attending the webinar.
Great. So I just want everybody that joined today know that DRP and SKOUT will do a free cybersecurity assessment, and so you can help better understand your company's needs and risks and threats that may exist. And some ways to contact us: you can email us at info@DRP Solutions. Our address is right here in Hauppauge in the Industrial Park, or you can call us directly at 873-4560. Now what I'd like to do is get to the questions, and we have two of the same question that James is already hitting me up that he wants to take it. So one of the questions is, what happened with the pipeline that went down, and how would cybersecurity actually may have prevent that from happening?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. Obviously, it's very topical because it's been in the news a lot. So just to kind of talk about it, I kind of touched on it as we were going through, but just kind of expand on that. So it was a ransomware attack. This attack group hit the Colonial pipeline with a pretty sophisticated, incredibly strong variant of ransomware. Now, up until this point, we actually don't know how that ransomware got onto the systems. However, there are a multitude of different ways to do that. We can go in and use a business email compromise. We have the ability maybe to touch on a user's login, maybe hit it with a brute force or a dictionary attack. Anything could have happened there. Now, what they did is they encrypted critical systems, and it caused a pretty substantial outage. I was telling the group here earlier, I actually have a friend down in North Carolina, and it's pretty much pandemonium there. 73% of gas stations are out of gas right now. There's been panic buying due to this, which, understandable. Now, the interesting part of this, I guess touching on 2 points. Could SKOUT have mitigated that? As I mentioned during the webinar, with our solutions, our ability to provide visibility into the network, visibility into potential attacks happening prior to the actual payload being delivered, like a ransomware, absolutely. We have the visibility piece, we have the endpoint protection, we have the business email compromise solution with regards to our email protection. All of these things together will provide a really solid ability to view everything way before it happens. We could see the attackers snooping around on the network before they deliver their payload. The other side of this, and the other kind of half of this question is kind of like, should we be worried? Should this be cause for concern? Now, I'm going to answer this in an interesting way. you should always have cause for concern with regards to cybersecurity. There's always the potential, for a company to get hit with a ransomware or something like that. It's becoming increasingly simple to do this. You jump on the dark web, download a ransomware kit, start sending it out, and you pay maybe 10% or half your profits to the ransomware creator. Now, the interesting thing about this, and there are news articles about this as well, what these attackers didn't realize with the pipeline is that is critical infrastructure. And as soon as they did it, they got tagged on the FBI radar. And that's a place that they didn't want to be. And they instantly went out and apologized for what they did, which, kind of tough. You knew what you're doing. You're not doing good things. You're doing bad things. So your apology isn't accepted. But yeah, things like this, they happen more frequently than ever. There was a game developer that was hit towards the start of this year, end of last year. I can't remember exactly when. That was hit for $100 million ransom. And they actually didn't just encrypt their files. They siphoned off some files and threatened to sell them on the dark web, unreleased game engines and things like that. So there should always be cause for concern. But again, using a tool set and a solution set like the SKOUT cybersecurity solution set with a partner like DRP, you've got all of the things put in place to stop that from being an issue for you. So, but yeah, great questions, truly, and you keep them coming for sure.
Thanks, Steve. We got more. Whoever on the panel wants to take this one. Somebody's asking, is SKOUT affiliated with ConnectWise?
Jim, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, we do have a relationship. I mean, we can integrate with ConnectWise, not the full board of what they offer, but selected pieces of ConnectWise. We can certainly join DRP in a conversation to see if what you're looking for matches up with what we can offer. So yeah, absolutely. We look forward to that.
Great, thanks, Jim. Another question we have here: if our data is pirated and a ransom is attached, are there ways to recapture our data without paying the ransom?
That's a good question. So kinda. So there are companies out there that can do a multitude of things, and they can try and negotiate the ransom down. They can try and decrypt the data. RSA 4096 is a particularly tough encryption to try and beat, for the simple fact of it's 4,096 characters. Each one of them can be any lowercase, uppercase letter, number, character, wildcard. So you think about all the different types of combinations there are. It actually takes you longer than the known universe will be around to try and decrypt that. The other side of things, though, if it is a case that unfortunately, ransomware has got hold of a system, what can we do there? A solid backup plan is definitely something you should have a look into. And, again, have a chat with the guys at DRP about that. You want to get yourself a really good backup plan. They said the best offense is a good defense, and the defense being solid cybersecurity offering and then a backup of all your data. And Michael, I don't know if you had like a kind of anything to add there on that.
Yeah, no, he kind of took the word right out of my mouth. It was going to be have a great backup plan. So we definitely have a large solution set that we can implement, but really having a solid backup plan is really the best way to kind of mitigate having to pay a ransom. That way you can just recover the information, make sure that the attacker is still not on the network, and then you're back up and running.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, James. Yeah, we have another one here. Can your software actually block phishing emails from getting through to user emails?
So the way we've kind of gone, and as you saw as I went through, any emails that are malicious that come in, we banner everything, good, potentially bad, and the terrible ones as well, as you saw. There is some level of configuration that DRP and SKOUT can put in play for you that we actually can take, confirmed phishing or confirmed brand impersonation or anything like that, I actually put that into a separate mailbox. The reason we do it the way we do is kind of twofold. First and foremost, obviously, we are looking at emails, with the AI and making a judgment call. And obviously, if that email was actually legitimate, it just, hit a few flags for us. The user is going to want to get that email out of quarantine. So at that point, we can do that. We can unquarantine that email for them. The other side of it is going to be the training element, right? We want to be able to provide not only a really solid protection against business email compromise, but we also want to train users as to what to look out for moving forward. Not so only when they're using their business email, they're seeing red banners and things like that, but when they have their personal email open on their business laptop, which happens all the time, they're not clicking links from their personal email that may be able to infect their work machine. So, long and short is, yes, we can do that, but obviously, that training element is vital for companies nowadays to be able to shore up their cybersecurity foothold within their staff, for sure.
Thanks, James. Another question we have here, is it expensive to add this to our company? And what is a pen test?
Well, it's relative to your budget. I mean, the thing that you need to really look at is, what are the costs to your reputation? What could potentially be stolen from you, loss of employees. So there's a cost to that. Maybe there's a dollar sign, but there's a lot that goes into even more of a reputation type loss. So we try to price this with DRP where it's cost effective for everyone. The goal here is to remove a lot of the heavy lifting from businesses and really provide that 24/7. So of course there's some costs that go into that, but it's something that we can certainly talk about, moving forward to see if it's something that would work within your budget. We happen to believe that it is. It's something that we feel is fairly priced. From pen testing, those are professional services, really just to see what type of gaps that you may have in your network, really to kind of score where you are and to really make some recommendations at that point as to what gaps you need to fill, the tools that you're going to need to put in place. That's something that you can talk to DRP about, or we can help facilitate or find a partner for you as well. But that's something that's actually good for if we're going to be doing your cybersecurity. It's probably better to have a company that's going to judge, where you are from a security standpoint and what gaps that you have, because it's better to have a third party look at it than the company that's actually providing that security for you being able to almost judge ourselves. So we like to keep that separate for the most part.
Yeah, just to add on that, Jim. Just from the IT side too, it's kind of like an ethical issue. We're securing your network, so we want to have a third party kind of do that test, just because we're responsible for the network, so we don't want to be ethically responsible for that test. It's just it's recommended that you get a third party to do so.
Right. Next question, I'll actually handle this one. Do you provide managed services or work with existing IT provider? The answer to that is we do both. We're a full service managed IT provider, but we also have a lot of clients that have IT in-house, and we work in complement with them, to help them with their needs. So yes, 100%, we do both ways. And as far as there's a cost estimate looking for 15 to 20 users, please reach out to us on the sheet there or email, and we'll get right back to you with some information on that. Okay, I have one question I wrote down. Maybe I thought people might be interested in. What industries do hackers seem to target the most? Is there one? I think some people on the panel.
Yeah. Anyone and everyone. Yeah, like I said earlier, if you've got money, if you've got clients, if you've got data, something of value that they can sell on the dark web, it doesn't matter if you're the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, they're gonna want to come after you and do what they can to maximize any opportunity from a cybersecurity standpoint. So no one is untouchable. There might be some that might be considered a little bit more because of like, compliancies and all that, and people might be willing to pay a little bit more, but every industry is at risk, unfortunately.
I've had a lot of clients say to me over the years, we're too small, nobody wants to bother with us, and we've always turned around and said, well, I've had companies smaller than you get hit and companies a lot bigger than be
Yeah.
affected. Typically,
really,
all the companies aren't the best protected. They don't keep up with the technology the most,
Yeah, and with phishing, I mean, one key can open 1,000 doors.
Right.
So, would they rather go after someone that maybe has some security in place, or maybe they can connect with and attack 10 different smaller companies that are going to feel pretty threatened at that point and might be willing to hand over, what they're looking for from a ransom standpoint. So, yeah, don't ever think that your business would be something or that wouldn't be a target of cyber criminals. We've seen it all.
Right. Okay. Well, we have no more questions. I appreciate the 9 or 10 questions that we had. That's great. Thank you, everybody. And from DRP, thanks for joining. Please look out for more of these in the future. And thank you, SKOUT, for doing a great job with us here today.
Pleasure.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, guys.